Oh god. It's getting worse. Oh my god, it escalates. You think it's just gonna stop. Is that supposed to happen? Because it's happening. Go f yourself.
I've been a real negative Nelson on this channel. Not even a glass half empty kind of guy. More like a
Who drank my fucking water
kind of guy. So I've been thinking I should put out something more positive. Maybe a detailed analysis on the brilliance of Steins Gate. It's pretty good. Hell, when anime is not being pure,
undiluted sewage.
There's a lot of pretty swell stuff out there. Perhaps I could go for something non-anime related too. There are plenty of things I like, believe it or not, so I've got a veritable smorgasbord to choose from. But then I saw Deadpool. And it sucked. Well, that's not fair. The scenes with Deadpool, and I mean Deadpool, not Wade, are pretty good, but they're maybe only half of the movie.
For an origin story on Deadpool, you need a third. So a third looks like me, and then a third looks like the scarred version of Wade, who we affectionately say looks like Shrek took a shit on his shoulders. And then you have the masked version of Deadpool, and that is sort of the true embodiment of the character and the spirit. So
What the fuck are you doing?
Now, before I get called a pretentious hipster who's just hating on what's currently popular, please note that Zootopia has a 99% rating on Rotten Tomatoes as of recording this. And if you don't think I could have torn the movie being marketed to furries into so much giblets...
Give people that don't know it's like 3 steps. Give it hell perfect.
So what's made Deadpool's movie so popular? Well, according to Rotten Tomatoes, fast, funny, and gleefully profane, the fourth wall-busting Deadpool subverts superhero film formula with wildly entertaining and decidedly non-family friendly results. Basically, it's an inherently childish thing being aggressively marketed to adults.
I don't want to be an adult right now.
Nah, I think the important bit to focus on is this: the subversion of the superhero film formula. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that this tack is what's been underpinning Deadpool's box office success. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not entirely against subversion. Some postmodernist masturbation here and there can be fun. And to be perfectly honest, I think it's sorely needed for the comic book superhero film genre. Because inserting a bunch of dudes
and a token woman
wearing spandex in our current geopolitical environment and expecting us to take it seriously, I don't get it, Marvel fans. It's not Deadpool subverting the genre that I have a gripe with. It's that, as a subversion, Deadpool does just so much of it wrong. Oh yeah? Well, what else is there, huh? Can you name even one recent example of subversion of the superhero genre done well? I'm glad I asked that, because diametric to the Deadpool movie, we have the recent One Punch Man anime adaptation. Another subversion, as it were, of the superhero genre that gets just about everything right. And it's also super de-duper popular right now, so you can't call me out on pretentious hipsterdom there. Ha! But is One Punch Man really a subversion? Yes it is, and I'll illustrate why. Prick. So, some middle ground. I'll take these two genre subversions, the recent Deadpool movie and the recent One Punch Man anime, and present two anal cysts side by side. And I'll show you precisely how One Punch Man gets it right, while Deadpool is so far up its ass that there will be spoilers. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Subversion. I'm not fucking 5. I know what subversion is.
We have to be clear about its definition, since there are a lot of terms with similar sounding, almost interchangeable definitions. Simply put, subversion, in particular subversion of narrative, is a bait and switch. You play up an audience's expectations, and then Hideo Kojima the fuck out of them.
They played us like a damn...
Take this skit from Key and Peele. We have these two sunglass wearing, smart dressing, smooth walking hitmen walking down the street in slow motion with guns in hand. The expectation that several decades of action movies have ingrained in our brains is that something badass is about to go down. And then Peele gets hit by a piano. Basic, but effective subversion. It's subversive for the purpose of comedy too, so it can also be called parody. Mind you, parody does not always have a bait and switch, so it's not always subversive. And subversion is not always comedic, so it's not always parody. Deadpool and One Punch Man are both parody, though one is quite a bit more subversive than the other. I'd be careful about throwing satire into this mix too. Satire has to do with social commentary, and while there is some of that in both Deadpool and One Punch Man, I wouldn't call it the focus for either. Great, now that we've got that out of the way.
Is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures.
I've never read the Deadpool comics, so none of what I'm about to say applies to the comic book Deadpool. Got that? Hell, I've never even read his Wikia page. I just took a screenshot and put it up here. The closest I've come to Deadpool is his 2013 video game, and what I gleaned from that is that Deadpool is a fourth wall breaking, schizophrenic psychopath who excessively enjoys juvenile and cruel humor and cares for precious little beyond that. He's also a superhero with accelerated regeneration powers. Well, a superhero in the sense that he wears the full body superhero tights and exists in a universe alongside a bunch of other superpowered people in superhero tights. And normally you think of superheroes as moralistic vigilantes who have taken the law into their own hands and assume the responsibility of preserving justice and such like. Nope. Deadpool's just a vigilante. Subversion. And you know what? That's just fine by me. Movie Deadpool is more or less the same as video game Deadpool minus the schizophrenia. He breaks the fourth wall, he kills people for mature audiences, and he shoots off joke after edgy joke at rapid fire speed. The reason I'm not in love with Deadpool personally is that the jokes get to be a bit much. When you throw that much material out there that fast, some of it is bound to fall flat, or even into cringe territory. But still, I'd say I liked 75% of Deadpool's jokes and senseless violence in this movie. There's a scene early on where he takes out a bunch of baddies on a bridge, and it's pretty damn excellent, other than the jokes recycled from the proof of concept short.
I bet you're wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. Let's hope these guys are wearing their brown pants.
You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
And the one-liners made for the trailers.
I'm touching myself tonight.
Point is, I liked it. It was working. And then it had to royally fuck it up. Because the scene after that is a flashback. Whole flashbacks. We're gonna go over those in a bit. Anyway, in it, Deadpool's not Deadpool yet, but some mercenary punk named Wade Wilson. A psychopath with a penchant for juvenile and cruel humor and wait a minute.
This is a different kind of superhero story. To tell it right, we gotta take you back before I squeeze this ass into spandex.
So the whole being turned into an unkillable immortal with a fresh consciousness and awareness of his reality being a total fabrication had nothing to do with making Deadpool into Deadpool? He was always a violent, hyperbolic maniac? Well, okay, but what the fuck is the point in showing me his past then? You're kinda losing me here, movie, but you know what? Could be another subversion, right? Usually in superhero movies, the setup is such that when a hero receives their powers, they then gradually transform into a bona fide hero. Only in this case, Wade will receive his superpowers, and the punchline is that Deadpool's just regular old Wade with superpowers. You'd think near invincibility and fourth wall breaking would change a man. Just a little, but hey, let's give the movie the benefit of the doubt. Now, in this flashback, Wade's terrorizing a pizza delivery man named Jeremy. Why is he doing this? Because a girl named Megan says Jeremy is stalking her, and Wade is paid to deal with scumbags like him. Only, Wade's not being paid at all, and claims he's doing it because he has soft spots. So, what you're telling me, movie, is that Wade's a white knight? Not much of an anti-hero, is he?
It's me, Deadpool, Marvel anti-hero extraordinaire.
After Wade terrorizes Jeremy, he goes to a skate park to find Megan smiling and laughing with her friends like she hasn't a care in the world, which is a little weird, all things considered.
Prepare to die. I'm outside your house. I have a target on you.
Even better, one of her friends asks Wade to deal with her douche stepdad. Because hell, not like a teenage girl to be over dramatic.
Papadoo! You fucking killed my dog!
Oh my god! It was self-defense for both of us.
That doesn't make you question the validity of Megan's claim just a little bit? Wade? Moviegoers? Then there's some narration from Wade where he makes it clear that he's not a hero. He says, and I quote, "I'm just a bad guy who fucks up worse guys."
The time has come to be a fucking superhero.
I think the insinuation the movie's trying to make is that actually he's totally a hero. He's just a little bit on the unorthodox side.
Anti-hero extraordinaire.
Wade stops by his little den of criminal associates, and the bartender guy immediately starts making snide jabs along with him.
You look like the inside of other people's assholes.
Meaning?
I thought the snide jabs were his thing. Well, whatever. And then Wade meets some too pretty prostitute. Escort. Who I guess is a subversion because she's not a virginal, all-around, perfect wife material love interest.
A lot of fans were actually pretty invested in the idea of Natasha with actually either or both of you guys, and now obviously she's with Bruce. What do you guys make of that?
She's a slut. I was gonna say something along that line. It's complete horror.
And then they begin exchanging witty barbs, and fuck it, I'm at a loss. What's the point of yet another wisecracking psychopath in a world of wisecracking psychopaths? Okay, maybe the prostitute isn't a psychopath, but really, are hookers all that much better? No offense, whore. So the prostitute and Wade fall in love in record timing. Then Wade is diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so with nothing to lose, I mean, he's dating a prostitute, not exactly living it up, he accepts an experimental treatment from some dude named Francis to cure him. It instead gives him accelerated regeneration in the likeness of Freddy Krueger. Wade dresses up like Deathstroke, even though he's not a superhero, doesn't want to be one, and isn't in denial about not being one despite living in a universe that openly flaunts superheroes. What the fuck? And he spends the rest of the movie hunting down Francis, who kidnaps the whore for some reason that I'm not really sure about. It's not the smartest move, in fact it's downright idiotic, but maybe that's a subversion of the smart supervillain? But they all do this stupid shit. Maybe it's to subvert the damsel in distress trope? Somehow? Nope.
Played a lot of roles. Damsel in distress ain't one of them. Played a lot of roles. Damsel in distress ain't one of them.
Not very progressive shit, lord.
And she's a strong female character and really.
What separates Deadpool from his backdrop? It's not his cavalier attitude, it's not his humor, it's not his powers, it's not his psychopathy. Is there anything that makes Deadpool stand out other than his shapely buttocks? He does have his fourth wall breaking, but no part of the plot is reliant on it at all. It's the writers going, LOL look, we're parodying comic book movies, and having Deadpool wink unapologetically at the camera.
And please don't make the super suit green. Or animated.
Wow. I know, right?
You know what would have been cool? If Deadpool had used the fourth wall to his advantage, maybe by shoving the camera in a goon's face or rewinding the movie to give his past self an edge. But no, Deadpool doesn't use the fourth wall. He'll talk to it, he'll nudge it, he'll acknowledge he's in a stupid comic book movie, but that's it. When you get down to it, he's just narrating, which tons of movies have their protagonists do already. For example,
who am I? You sure you want to know? The story of my life is not for the faint of heart. If somebody said it was a happy little tale, if somebody told you I was just your average ordinary guy not a care in the world, somebody lied.
Maybe Deadpool stands out with his comedic apathy, because as Ryan Reynolds says,
that he takes nothing seriously.
Man, are you serial?
Which is fine, because I'm about to praise One Punch Man Saitama for being quite similar. Except Deadpool's about Deadpool tirelessly hunting down this Francis guy to get his whore and pretty face back. So he's taking things kind of seriously. So which is it? Does Deadpool want to inefficiently accomplish his goals as a goofy goober, yeah? Or does he not actually give a shit about his goals that consume him to the point of becoming Deadpool?
I didn't ask to be super, and I'm no hero.
But when you find out your worst enemy is after your best girl,
the time has come to be a fuck.
And if Deadpool doesn't really give a shit, why doesn't he give a shit? Has his life as a mercenary taken its toll on him? Because neither the cancer nor the facial scarring seem to noticeably affect his personality or mannerisms, but they give him the drive and ambition to gun for Francis? Huh? It's like they've taken a recurring character from some parody skit and given him his own movie, and lo and behold, it turns out to be a painfully overextended parody skit. You're looking into this too much, man. Just sit back and enjoy the movie for what it is. Well, what is it? Is it really a subversion in the first place? Is a basic origin story followed by saving the girl from a mortal enemy subverting superhero film formula? Is a character who regularly cracks sarcastic and crude jokes subverting superhero protagonists? Is R-rated over-the-top violence subverting PG-13 over-the-top violence? Guys, I hate to say it, but you were just hoodwinked into watching 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Don't believe me? Just watch. In Deadpool, a new backstory is established where Wade Wilson becomes Deadpool as an unwitting pawn in a not the military scheme to reinvigorate the super soldier program through some fucking serum. On the run, at a moderate pace, he attempts to cure himself of unbangability before he is captured by Colossus, but his worst fears are realized when power-hungry twat Francis is a similar but better-looking creature.
It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Okay, honestly, you can do this with almost any story, so it doesn't prove anything. You might have noticed the synopsis doesn't even mention the whore, but that's because she's about as relevant to the plot as this chick was in The Incredible Hulk.
I don't want to give this geeky franchise its greasy fans and its sexist premise any more of my precious time.
So the big question I have to reiterate is this: is Deadpool really a subversion? The answer, I think, is yes. It is, as a matter of fact. Just poorly done. It's your typical superhero film setup with typical superhero tropes, but the amped up vulgarity makes it different from your usual fare. This has the potential to subvert expectations, but Deadpool is essentially the Marvel equivalent of an edgy Sonic the Hedgehog OC character, and because he's written slightly better than a 13-year-old can manage, audiences will eat him up. It's lazy, it's not clever, it's not praiseworthy, but it's extremely marketable.
When you have a character that breaks the fourth wall and addresses the audience directly, the possibilities for a film are obviously limitless, but so is the marketing.
To illustrate fully how Deadpool gets it wrong, I have to show you how it's done right. And this is where One Punch Man comes in. One Punch Man is a Japanese webcomic made into a manga made into an anime. I'll be discussing only the anime adaptation, just as I've only discussed the film adaptation of Deadpool and not his comic series. One Punch Man is about a guy named Saitama, who is a hero, but not because of any higher calling. He considers it only a hobby. He doesn't call himself One Punch Man, or even have a superhero name picked out for himself. In his world, he's a completely average nobody, but in actuality, he's the most powerful being in existence. So powerful, in fact, that he can't help but take out monsters and the like in a single punch, and he can't stand it. And how did Saitama even get his power? Through minimal effort. Well, actually, this is a subversion of Japanese tropes, because if you haven't noticed, there are very few mainstream Western superheroes who have developed their powers through hard, unrelenting work. They just got them through some freak accident, or were given some serum, or were born with them, or they were the fucking chosen one. God damn, we take escapism way too far over here that we can't even let our fictional heroes work for it.
You're damn right.
But anyway, Saitama is the exact opposite of a lot of Japanese Super Sentai and shonen characters. Unlike protagonists such as Goku, Saitama never needs to evolve his power level or abilities, and he will never face an opponent who poses a threat to himself. And unlike a Western superhero like Spider-Man, his great power comes with so little responsibility it's laughable. Saitama can be said to be the closest to Superman, where he has all the power he could ever need. The big difference being, however, that he has no weaknesses whatsoever. There is no kryptonite for One Punch Man. In a way, Saitama is also like a 13-year-old's own character Do Not Steal, one that nobody can beat because his smarmy creator said so.
My robot hits yours with swarmers! I counter with the wave pulse! I'm not playing with you anymore!
But unlike Deadpool, this is the joke. One Punch Man is well aware of what Saitama is. He ain't there to crack jokes about which X-Men timeline he's in or to try to punch other heroes in their titanium balls. Well, not intentionally. He's there as a parody of the unbeatable superhero, whose very existence trivializes the existence of other heroes and the monsters they fight. Better yet, One Punch Man goes out of its way to distinguish Saitama from the rest of its cast. His entire design, even, is predicated on this. It comes across a little better in the adapted manga, but it's clear to see here that Saitama's design is overly simplified and deliberately lacking detail. When he's not about to wreck your shit, that is. Also add to the fact that he's bald and the only character to wear a cape, combined with the goofy coveralls. One Punch Man's cast is incredibly varied, but even among them, Saitama stands out as unmistakably different from the rest, unlike Deadpool. Saitama's character and personality too is separate from his surroundings. He is a man who embodies an existential crisis. As a kid, Saitama wanted to be a hero, basically just to take out opponents in a single punch. But when he gets exactly what he wished for as an adult, it drives him to mind-crippling apathy. What's the point of taking out bad guys if all it takes is a single punch? How boring is that? One Punch Man illustrates Saitama's dilemma pretty perfectly throughout the first episode in scenes like when a giant mutant flattens everything outside of a supermarket he's in. But as shoppers are fleeing in panic over the monster's tremors, Saitama barely even notices because he's more concerned with giving the cashier exact change. Or when Saitama is walking home and a car monster pops up and crushes the eggs he just bought. Eggs over rice will have to do. Killing monsters has become as mundane and routine as everyday errands. There's just nothing to get him pumped up anymore. And despite his effectiveness, Saitama notes that the evils of the world show no signs of stopping either. Nothing he does seems to make an impact, and as a result, Saitama has become mostly detached from his emotions. In exchange for power, maybe I've lost something that's essential for a human being? He asks himself. There is no one with Saitama's personality, no one who suffers as he does, and no one with the power he has. He is terminally an outlier. What he does share with other characters is one thing: the desire to be a hero. The others may have slightly different reasons as to why they want to be heroes, whether for power, status, or being a total G, but the desire is rampant throughout the show. Yet even here, Saitama is different. He's only a hero as a hobby, and it's a hobby he's bored of. I mean, he dumps a monster on top of a city, crushing it, and leaves to buy eggs. Hell, there's even an episode where the bad guys are a bunch of Bernie Sanders supporters, and Saitama lets their leader get off free because he feels they're alike and that he could have easily ended up as a jobless NEET himself. Yet despite all of this, everyone who learns of Saitama's true overpowered nature practically idolizes him. Genos, a cyborg arguably much more human than Saitama, worships the ground Saitama walks on. Bang, a wizened martial arts master and one of the most powerful men alive, realizes almost immediately that Saitama outranks him enough that he can't even begin to compare. You could argue that they only respect him for his overwhelming power, but remember, the joke here is that he only got that power through minimal effort. Saitama's a decent guy, but he's no Moomin Rider. Saitama is nobody to look up to as a person, but subversively, several powerful characters end up looking up to him as the hero. Overall, Saitama works because he is just broken and doesn't belong. This is good parody. You need an outsider constantly poking at the absurdities of what is otherwise considered normalcy. Exaggeration for comical effect is only as good as its backdrop. If everything is exaggerated, nothing is. But if only a handful of things are exaggerated relative to others, those things stand out all the more brilliantly. On the other end of the spectrum, Deadpool's exaggeration is mostly superficial, but it's present almost everywhere. Deadpool doesn't stand out from the rest. Everybody's a snarky wisecracker like he is, except Colossus. The heroes all dress up in ridiculous spandex outfits like Deadpool does, and they're all as competent as Deadpool since the bad guys are mostly cannon fodder with useless guns. The writers even go out of their way to make sure Deadpool is not the most apathetic character in the lineup, what with Negasonic Teenage Warhead's moodiness.
Oh no, finish your tweet. That's fine, just give us a second.
He breaks the fourth wall, sure, which no other character does, but again, it's only to narrate. Even Saitama will do that.
力と引き換えに人として大切な何かを失ってしまったのだろうか。
In terms of outliers, it's actually Colossus who stands out the most in Deadpool, and surprise, surprise, he was instantly my favorite character. Noble and heroic in a setting boiling over with superpowered psychos, he even looked and sounded different from the rest. His interactions with Deadpool are the best the movie has to offer too, because they're just so damn different and funny. If the whole movie had been about their dynamic, a la Tiger and Bunny, well, you wouldn't be hearing a peep out of me right now, because I'd probably love this movie and would have nothing to whine incessantly about. But no, Deadpool was never looking to subvert expectations that intelligently. I just want to mention, the violence in One Punch Man? Way more gory than anything we see in Deadpool. It's not subversively violent either. This is just Japs being Japs. Fucking yellow freaks.